Yeah, we actually look at it almost like the opposite of like a gatekeeper of authority. We think about it as if there was somebody that wanted to build the market and help build the market, how do you support it? How do you highlight it? How do you show that it's there? There's always been tons of money, there's always been tons of opportunity, there's always been hundreds of thousands of trainers and workers and people in the industry. And Peloton wasn't new, it had been around for years, and all of these other companies weren't new. But it was this the attention. How do we see the market, we know what the opportunity is. If you can create products that are help people feel better, look better, live a healthier life, access health better, I mean, there's really nothing better than that, in my opinion. Like, it's amazing. So it's like, how do we highlight and build this? And it was honestly almost like an authentic way of like, we just want to do this. Doing that the right way over time and not selling out and not doing certain things led to us being kind of the voice and authority. But it was strictly through a genuine approach of like, I love this space. I want to make it better. And I think it could be 20 times the size. And that was it.
For serial entrepreneur and Fitt CEO Anthony Vennare, community is the superpower driving winning businesses in health, wellness, and fitness. Anthony and his brother and business partner Joe have started and successfully exited multiple businesses in these spaces. Together, they're the founders of Fitt Insider and Fitt Capital and have built platforms at the center of these industries. The Fitt Insider newsletter and podcast analyze industry headlines, trends, and investment activity in the health, wellness, fitness, and human performance business landscape. Fitt Capital invests in and advises mission-driven startups redefining well-being. To date, they've made investments in more than 20 companies, including June, Bird & Bee, and Future, the wildly popular personal training app. I became a Fitt Insider subscriber during my time as an executive at Strava and continue to keep up with it today. Anthony and I discuss the rise of Fitt Insider, the Fitt Capital investment thesis, and much more. If you are alive and listening to this podcast, and I have strong reason to believe that you are, please like, subscribe, hit 5 stars, and write a positive review wherever you listen. This is Choose the Hard Way, where guests share stories about how hard things build stronger humans. I'm Andrew Vance, and I've spent more than 25 years telling and shaping the stories of the world's top performers, brands, and businesses. I've held executive and senior leadership roles at the social network for athletes Strava and the human performance company TRX. As a journalist, my byline has appeared in outlets including Rolling Stone, Outside Magazine, the Los Angeles Times, and dozens of others. Today, I advise and consult with businesses and nonprofits on high-impact storytelling strategies, and I coach leaders to become high-performance communicators. If you'd like to work with me, reach out on LinkedIn, DM me at Vontz, VONTZ, or send an email to choosethehardway@gmail.com. You can find those links in the show notes. I'm also now considering sponsorship from mission-aligned brands to support this show in 2023 and beyond. If that's you, please reach out. We're revamping the newsletter, so be sure to sign up at choosethehardway.com to get a monthly drop of insights, some personal stories, and a look at what's ahead. If you'd like to suggest a guest or say hello, you can DM me at HardwayPod on social or send an email to choosethehardway@gmail.com. As always, those links in the show notes.
It's kind of funny. My entire life has been a constant battle of chaos. Because of who I am and how I operate, fit within normal guidelines. Like, I don't operate good on a plan, on a daily thing. I'm not the type to get up in the morning at the same time. I try for it every day, but it always fails. So that was just today. Getting up early enough, working out on time, going and getting to the office, coming to walk here. It's raining, so I couldn't walk. I like to walk every day to get to the office. So nothing goes right every day for me. So it's just not what didn't go right or what didn't go. It's like, it's not what went wrong. It's what went right. And probably so far I got my coffee from my favorite coffee shop. That's about it.
What was your adjustment based on the rain?
I had to drive, which was a huge bummer. I never drive. I just got a car. I used to have a Vespa and only drive a scooter. and it was either walk or scooter. You had to do it. Snow. I live in Pittsburgh, so it's snowing, it's rainy, it's crappy. You have to do it. But I recently had to be a grown up and get a car, so I drove today, and I haven't driven in 2 months.
Wow. Vespa in the winter, though, sounds prior to the car, that sounds like a dangerous lifestyle. Were there any incidents based on that Vespa lifestyle early on?
No, it was slow driving and sometimes a lot of walking was the only thing. If like, it was bad out, I would walk, and if I got to walk 2 miles, I got to walk 2 miles. If I got to walk five, I got to walk five. Whatever it was. So yeah, it was not smart at all. It was just me being difficult, which is probably the kind of tone of everything today is just trying to fight against myself to make things more difficult.
As I noted before we got started, I've listened to I think the full catalog of podcast interviews that you've done, and I heard one from way back. I know you've talked about how you entered the Marines. Your father was ill, and you had to come home to help out with things for the family. But I heard you say that you dropped 100 pounds before you entered the Marine Corps. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, I was 260, 270. I was a lineman in high school. I was very large. And then what was it, 3, 4 months later, I left for the Marines at 160. So it was not healthy, not something I would recommend. But as most things, again, it's like how, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. It's going to be insane. We're not going to eat anything but protein shakes for 3 months, and we're going to go and try to be in the best shape of our lives. And that's what I did. Luckily, I had the recruiter that brought me into the Marines. He was a former special operations guy, and he was just as crazy as I was, if not 10 times more, because of his background. So we were training 3 times a day. It was insane. So it was not smart, but yeah, it happened.
And when you entered the Marine Corps, was that right out of high school?
Yeah.
What was your plan at that point in time? What did you want to do with your life?
Yeah, my goal was I wanted to be in the Marines for 20 years and then join the FBI after I got out. So it was a big grand plan because I was not good at school. I barely graduated. I had, I think I graduated like a 2.1 GPA or something like that. School was not for me. I had learning disabilities. I didn't fit within confines. I didn't like it. And then I was going to go play high school football or sorry, college football, but I had gotten you know, picked up by smaller schools. I'm only 5'10". I wasn't going to be anything big as a lineman. So none of them really could give that whole, you have bad grades, we'll still get you in and give you a scholarship thing. So that plan didn't work out. So I was always wanted to be in the military and in the Marines game, and that was great. But I left for boot camp the week after, or 2 weeks after I left for boot camp. My dad was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer, and that's what changed my whole life trajectory.
Yeah, and that must have been incredibly rough at the time and probably still now thinking about it. And I've heard you discuss it in other places, but I'm curious, how did you feel when you got that news and then had to leave the Marine Corps to go home? And I know you went on to be a reservist, but what did that feel like for you?
Yeah, it was crazy because my goal was actually to go through, it's called a platoon leadership course, where you go and you enlist generally as a Marine. You go to college and then you go to become an officer. So you get all of the experiences. And when when I didn't find out about my dad until graduation day at boot camp, because they didn't want to tell me, because you can't just leave boot camp. They're not going to just let you go home. So they didn't tell me. I didn't know. I was writing letters. I had gotten a call home a few times because I had won certain competitions. It was going very well for me. And I never got to kind of engage with my dad. I didn't think anything of it. Graduation day, I saw him. He was pretty obvious. He just had brain surgery where his entire, head was operated on. And yeah, it was just supposed to be a big important day for me, but it was just much different story when seeing him and finding out he had cancer.
And when you got back home, I'm sure that there was quite an adjustment to make as you thought about your future. But at that point in time, you'd had this idea, hey, I'm going to be in for 20 years, get to retirement, go into the FBI. Did you immediately shift your focus to something else, or were you in drift for a bit as you tried to reorient yourself?
Well, I was fortunate that before I joined the Marines, I did my senior project on fitness, and I had gone and shadowed somebody at the YMCA and all of that. So I knew fitness well. I trained all through high school as an athlete. I had gotten, fortunately, had really good strength coaches. And then me going and preparing to leave for boot camp was just 99% just fitness. So it was something that I enjoyed and I liked. And my brother and I had always had our focus on that. Like I entered, bodybuilding competitions when I was younger, like the teambodybuilding.com stuff. So I was like, oh, I like this. This is fun. Um, and it was just something that was like a way to distract myself from what was going on. Because I came home for 10 days and I had to go back to MLS school and then come home for another 2 weeks and you go back and do other stuff. And it was constant fight to get home, go back and do what I have to do, all of this stuff. And it was just a back and forth for a number of years until he unfortunately passed away.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. And as you noted, you talked about your brother Joe. Your brother Joe is your business partner today in all of your endeavors. I'm curious what your relationship was like when you were young people. Were you competitive with each other? Did you help each other out? Did you choke each other out? Like what went down?
He's the older brother. So yes, we always fought, choked each other out, didn't, we were brothers from an Italian family, so we were close, but we weren't, we fought all the time. Everything was a competition. He was the older, smarter 4.0 student, got a scholarship, has a master's degree. Um, and I was like the kid who couldn't read. So, and I was the younger brother coming up. So it was definitely a crazy time, but it was it was a weird transition as this went down with my dad because we became very very close, and he took care of him when I wasn't there, and in general just like going through that, it was we became very very close. And then he was a teacher, a high school history teacher, and after it was probably a year after my dad had passed away, I was trying to find my career and job. I was 20 going on 21, and I started training people in parks. I started training people in their houses. I got certified, and like I was doing my best to make money for the family because our family was not well off. And then after that passed away, we really weren't in a good spot. So it was like make money for everyone type of thing. And I ended up doing very well at that, to the point where I was training all over the place. I had, probably close to 100 clients. It was just became this out of nowhere massive business because my passion for fitness was all that I kind of put my head down into. With everything going on, that's what I did. And it was just after seeing my dad so frail and sick, you realize like if you don't have health, nothing else really matters. So when going through that, I just I had read the Malcolm Gladwell book, and it was about 10,000 hours. So I listened to it as well as an audiobook. And it was, how can I go and build my 10,000 hours as fast as humanly possible? So study, work, train, workshops, everything you can do. And it led to the point where I got in a position where we had enough clients, we were doing well enough. I was like, oh, I should open a gym. And that was our first real business, was me going and signing this lease for this massive 12,000 square foot facility. I had no idea what I was doing or what was going to happen. But within a month, it went so well that I went to Joe, who was my older brother, and he was a teacher at the time. I was like, you have to quit your job. I was like, we're doing so well that I need help. And he was just, as into fitness as I was. I was like, I don't know how to hire people, what to do, but I was like, you have to come work with me on this. This is crazy.
It is crazy. I've spent some time around that industry during my time when I was head of content at TRX. And for people who are outside of the fitness and wellness industry, they might not realize your story is a very uncommon one. That's not the experience that most people have when they go to start a training business. I would say most people struggle. Why do you think you had so much success so rapidly as you stepped into the space? And also, would you like to apologize to any skateboarders, because I understand you destroyed a skate park in the process of launching your training business, which saddens me.
Yeah, we have some pretty crazy photos of us tearing down like an indoor skate park. It was abandoned though, so I didn't like interrupt anything. It was when the phase was over of these indoor skate parks, and it was insane. Literally like half pipes and it was 12,000 square feet. I was 21. I had no idea what I was doing. I think the reason it worked was part because of my passion for fitness. It was probably throughout my entire career, my entire life, the only thing I was good at. Sports, being active, and fitness was the only areas that I had shined. Everything else, school, behavior, none of that was a good thing for me. So it was my thing. It was what I spent time on, and I kind of have this insane, similar to what I was talking about earlier, like this personality of diving in, and that's what I'm going to do. So I had spent so much time and I had such a passion for it. And I've always been a passionate person. So when I'm talking about something, when I'm doing something, people are like, oh, this guy's into it. And I think if you do it genuinely, people are drawn to that. And then the other side was it was life or death. We needed money. Like we needed to take care of family. My mom, like it wasn't a point of like, oh, you know, it was like we need to make money. We need to make a business. We need to do something. And I had no other skill set, so it was like it was purely. I think that's what fueled most of it was there wasn't a fallback. I didn't come like no one was going to take care of me. I couldn't get to my dad's alumni network to help me get a job or start somewhere or get into school. Like there was nothing else. So in doing that, you just kind of have to make it work. And that's why I also look at business a lot of times, especially what we do, in a different lens than I think most people, because I never knew what an entrepreneur was. I never wanted to be one. I never thought it was cool. It was just like, I have to take care of people. So this is what I figured out I can do.
And let's time travel for a second. So fast forward to today, how many companies, like setting aside companies in which you're invested, how many companies do you currently operate?
I would say three, but Joe and I have structured stuff. We're fortunate that one of my really good friends is a lawyer and a fantastic lawyer at that. They're set up in different ways with holding companies and it owns different properties and different media things. But in reality, it's all based under one company, which is Joe and I operating within the fitness industry. And we still own, a website that sells programs here or a coaching business where we do this on the side or other stuff. But what people really know us for and what our main business is um, Fit Insider and now Fit Capital.
Right. And I want to get into that in a moment and talk about the ecosystem. You briefly addressed just the venture landscape generally, and that growing up, it wasn't something that was on your radar. I know you've shared on other podcasts that you read a Gary Vee book, and it sounds like that was the catalyst for you then pivoting in a new direction. Can you talk a little bit about what that book inspired? And what I haven't heard you discuss is once you had this insight, what was the process like, and how long did it take for you to go from learning about venture capital to actually going out and raising money and doing something different?
Yeah, it I think I can't remember what book it was now, but it was just reading about it kind of mentioned it in passing in the book. It was talking about, if you're going to start a company, you could do this or that. And it was like, some of my friends, he was talking about his early kind of stages. Well, some of my friends were raising money and then he was doing well. So he started investing and I was like, hold on, what is this? And that was really, I went down kind of a wormhole of like, oh, angel investing, people are investing in companies. You could get venture capital, you could get and it was just the spark that went off in my head because up until that point, over the multiple kind of businesses that we had at that time, I thought you had to start a business with your own money, slowly work your way up, and build a business. And this, like, I think it's kind of funny too. A lot of people talk about bootstrap businesses and this and that. There's even a lot of popular podcast people out there, they're like, oh, why bootstrap a business? No, you raised $1 million. You don't think that's because it wasn't venture capital. It was your friends and family. It was your uncle's money. It was whatever. You didn't bootstrap your business. Bootstrapping your business is having $0, finding your first client, making $10, and using that $10 to make 20, and then going down the line. So that's the game that I knew. I didn't know anything else, and I think that after hearing about venture capital, I was like, oh, I think I can kind of get people to get behind my ideas. And then it was, years before that ever happened. But it was something that I realized now, and I started thinking and listening and went down this kind of other end of like, oh, business isn't strictly brick and mortar. It isn't strictly, do it and build it. And there's other ways to think about things and there's other ways to create wealth. And that was, probably like a 5 year path, but it put me in that direction. And it was like, I can remember I was in our gym cleaning the turf. We had turf in our gym, listening to an audio book. And I was like, I heard this and I was like, holy shit, someone gave him money to start that? What? And that was like the starting point of it all. And that was, I had still a gym owner at that time.
It sounds like you've been relentless in your acquisition of new knowledge or skills in order to enable dreams or goals that you set for yourself. And in the case of moving in the direction of forming a venture firm or seeking venture backing for your endeavors, what did you have to learn in order to do that? And how did you acquire those skills or expertise? And who did you turn to help accelerate that process?
Yeah, unfortunately, no one pretty much up until now. I've done a bad job of learning from people just because we didn't, who was I going to learn from? No one that I knew or the two were like even 5 rungs down the ladder was somebody that could inform me on stuff like that or had experiences like that. So my plan was always read and research and find somebody doing it. Look at how they did it and then try to do it over and over again until it fails. And that was like the story on some other podcasts I've told, but like I heard somewhere I would listen to I heard somewhere someone that owned a gym talk about going door to door with flyers. So I did that and it worked. And then I heard about somebody putting stuff up at coffee shops. I did that and it worked. And I've very early on heard about somebody running Facebook ads and building websites about their business and selling programs online. So I was like, I got to figure this out. So I learned how to build a WordPress website or run Facebook ads or whatever. So it was, I don't, it's not the smartest way to do it because you have to learn a ton and you never become that big of an expert in it. You kind of just learn enough to be dangerous and do the thing. But that's what it was. So like when we first started to went out to raise venture capital, I went to some random workshop here locally held by like a economic development group and heard about things. And I was like, oh, okay, I can do that. So I made my first version of a pitch deck and started sending people, and it was absolutely horrible. And everybody said no, and they're like, half the people didn't respond. So that didn't work. So do version 2, do version 3, do version 4, and that's all it's been. And I think that's why I'm so excited about the investing piece of what we do and the future of how we look at that and the types of talent that we back, because it's not the guy that went to Harvard and has some degree and has some experience. I don't really care. It's the person that does it and figures it out. And those are the ones that I think are always going to win because they're in the same position I was. They don't have the fallback of family and support and money and access. They have to make it work, and we want to be there to support them to make it work. And hopefully we can be the kind of catalyst to help people create that opportunity that previously wouldn't have. And that's all it was for me, was figuring it out and trying to, Joe, my brother always says, it's just running through walls. I've run through 1,000 walls and you just get used to it. And it's kind of easy after that.
You're the Kool-Aid man.
Exactly. That's it. That's all I do. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I break into the wrong room, but that's all I do.
Yeah, your story about flyers makes me think about some things from my childhood. I had a lawn business when I was like 10. I think I wanted to get a bike. My dad said, if you want a bike, make some money. And if you want
Yeah.
to make some money, like go up the block and knock on the neighbor's door and see if they want you to mow the lawn, which I did. I did it with my older brother. There were some altercations. There may or may not have been a half mowed lawn and a mower abandoned somewhere due to miscommunication. And eventually there were flyers. As I think about the application of flyers, I'm thinking about like, could you potentially put up a flyer in a coffee shop and secure like a seed round?
I mean, honestly, depends on the coffee shop. You never know. I mean, the game, especially with investors nowadays, I'd say not now. 6 months ago or a year ago, yeah, any terrible idea was getting funded left and right, especially in fitness and wellness. My God, there are some bad ideas getting backed and tons of money flowing around. Um, and that was the other thing that I learned kind of on that note. I had always looked at people that were successful, had money or managed money or came from those backgrounds. It's like, they had a level of education, understanding, or success that was almost unattainable. And I quickly realized, no, not at all. I can do that. And that was my thing. Is like, if he can do it, I can do it. I'll figure it out. And then I'll beat them at it because that's just who I am. And that was always my goal. It was like almost like always running a race and having to have that next person ahead of me so that I could beat them.
I love it. Like I just see you like getting up and looking in the mirror and telling yourself, I'm gonna go do this today. I'm gonna raise that round.
I mean, the sign behind us, a lot of the stuff we do is a little bit too much for people, but yeah. So that's exactly how I wake up every day and think.
Yeah, and if you're listening and you're not watching this on YouTube, the signs in the background are cash checks, breaknecks. The other one says start from nothing,
Start from
create.
nothing, create something with purpose, yeah,
Yeah.
and earn your stripes. So obviously, kind of that's exactly how I think every day.
And your ecosystem has a couple of different components today. When you set out on this next part of your journey and thought about getting into, like, I'm assuming you wanted to go raise money for yourselves initially, and then it turned into having a venture studio. But at the outset, what was your intention and what did you want to build? And how has that changed or not over time?
Yeah, it's always been, there's multiple businesses that kind of all look like they play together, but they're all just separate things. And that's where it's not really a venture studio, but it kind of is in that we create multiple products and run them. But from the onset, it was always looking at the fitness landscape, seeing even back in 2016, 2017, when we were pitching our first company, nobody understood the game of fitness and wellness. They didn't understand the consumer's attention. They didn't understand what they were doing. They didn't understand what it meant to be a trainer or coach or what that industry was like. And even the numbers back then, the billions of dollars that were spent on it. So it was always, how can we put ourselves in a position to create and invest in and help start the next version of fitness companies? And that was really it. And it became multiple things and multiple companies and projects, but it was always building towards this bigger vision. And I'm fortunate that content has always been something we loved. Creating content, we've built and sold media companies. Um, you know, being the source, the place that can create that content for a certain thing or category. Um, that's what we really enjoyed. So that's what we always did. And that's where Fit Insider came out of. We like the fitness industry. I didn't think anyone was talking of fitness, wellness, health generally. And we didn't think anyone was talking about it well. We didn't think anybody really understood it. So it's like, how can we create that content and not say, it's not like the Andrew Hubermans or the others where this is what I think you should take, or this is the workout I think you should do. It's this is the industry. This is the businesses that are being created. This is what we think about this part of the industry or this opportunity or this business or this investment. Um, so with that, it just took off organically. And it was because we knew the space, we created the content, and we had always spent time in it. And we had no idea it would lead to what it is now, but it was always just trying to lead the way and create the content and be the source for that stuff. And if you do that long enough, I think people come around.
So when you think about the way you position yourself, as you said, the content has helped you position yourselves as an authority in the space. What opportunities does that then create for you, or what function, if you had to be explicit, what function does content play in your ecosystem?
It's the whole ecosystem. It's the foundation of it. If it's investors, founders, whoever, operators in the space, if you are the place that they go to inform themselves and keep up to date and interact with a market, you become an access point to that market. And we have put out 200 some newsletters and 150 podcasts about this space, interviewing top founders and executives and writing about business, businesses that have raised money, what they're doing, our analysis, our interest in a space, breaking down categories, showing the trends, and doing research to show there's X amount of dollars spent on this, or there's X amount of people interested in this. So when a founder is trying to build their pitch deck and they're using our data or our information or our talking points, or were quoted in their deck, or when an executive wants to get the word out about their business to the market, they come to us and we help tell that story. It just puts you in a really awesome position. And we're just super fortunate that uh, it's always it's what we would do anyway. There's nothing to do with the business side. Like we love talking about the market, we love working with people, we love entrepreneurship and founders and all of that. So it's really fun. But it just so happened, we started talking about it at the right time in the interest in venture capital dollars. And then when COVID hit, everybody's attention was at fitness and wellness. And we were the only ones really talking about it the way that we were. And we kind of still are the only ones. So yeah, it was just great timing as well.
I want to talk about that moment. I'm also curious because, as you mentioned, you had a number of other content based businesses prior to the current iteration. So you had Pittsburgh, you had, pardon me, I don't remember what it's called, but you had Fitt. Uh, you had a content based model for different cities in the United States, providing information about health, wellness, different fitness studios. And then you went in the direction of the newsletter you have now, which is really industry insights, also covering deal flow. You have a job board, you have the podcast. When you moved into the direction of the current iteration, did you test your way into it, or did you take a leap of faith and were you confident this was what needed to happen?
Leap of faith. Again, it was, I saw Industry Dive. Industry Dive has been around for 10 years. They actually just sold for hundreds of millions of dollars. And I saw them talking about like the pharma industry and like the being at what it means, like CFO daily is one of their things. And such specific niche markets and talking about those categories and built a massive business off of it. So we saw, we're like, oh, it's kind of crazy. It did exist with like, club industry and Ursa and others that have been in the space, but they were all, they weren't doing it the way that we would do it. So that was the spark that was like, oh, we need to make this. And that was really it.
And by positioning yourselves as an authority or somewhat of a gatekeeper for information in the space, what opportunity has that afforded you? And when did you know, hey, this is working? This is working out the way we wanted it to?
Yeah, we actually look at it almost like the opposite of like a gatekeeper or the authority. We think about it as if there was somebody that wanted to build the market and help build the market, how do you support it? How do you highlight it? How do you show that it's there? Because I think the interest from COVID was massive and there was a lot of dollars, but the market wasn't that much different from 2018, 2019, 2020,
Right.
2021. There's always been tons of money. There's always been tons of opportunity. There's always been hundreds of thousands of trainers and workers and people in the industry. And Peloton wasn't new, it had been around for years, and all of these other companies
Right.
weren't new. But it was the attention. So, however, the year or so before it was, how do we see the market, we know what the opportunity is. So it just needs to be phrased the right way. Someone just needs to highlight this in the right way or talk about it and show this is going on, this is massive. And that's what we started doing. And that was the only idea of it, was like, how do we do this? Because we've all, I think that it's one of the most exciting spaces to be in if you can create. There's obviously the bad, but the good side is, especially digital health is a big part of what we cover too. But like everything from psychedelics to personalized nutrition and mental health and wellness and well-being and all of that, like if you can create products that are help people feel better, look better, live a healthier life, access health better, I mean, there's really nothing better than that in my opinion. Like it's amazing. So it's like, how do we highlight and build this? And it was honestly almost like an authentic way of like, we just want to do this and that's all we want to do. And that doing that the right way over time and not selling out and not doing certain things led to us being kind of the voice and authority. But it was strictly through a genuine approach of like, I love this space. I want to make it better. And I think it could be 20 times the size. And that was it.
Yeah. And I love your reframe there, specifically around the word gatekeeper. What I'm thinking of is that by elevating awareness of what's happening in the space and putting your company out there, I have to imagine that that puts you in a position to get potentially a deal flow or access at a stage when other people are not getting it. Is that correct?
Yeah. It's this amazing venture media flywheel is what we call it. And it's, like I said, it's not a founder. We don't promote that we invest really. It's out there. It's on the site, but it's not something we talk about really ever. And we have an amazing access in both network and to founders and everything else. And it's because when a founder, whether they're a Series D company or they're coming up with their idea, if they want to validate, they'll ask us help for help. And like my biggest battle in life is trying to manage my inbox because the email that goes out every week from the newsletter, that's my actual inbox. That's my email. And it's bananas. Like that's where you email. Like that's so like every week hundreds of emails come in just on Tuesday replying to what we wrote about, talked about, everything else. And I'm always behind getting back to people. But the goal is I send something out, it's about a topic, it resonates. People in that space that either are creating, want to create, or have created things, and they reach back out and they're like, I like this, or I'm doing this, or I'm building this, and your information's good, or can I get more information, or can you help me with this, or can you look at what we're building to see what you think? And that was really it, and it's super fun.
Yeah, and Anthony, I know in our exchange I mentioned this when I was a communications executive at Strava. I know my team was interacting with you and Joe pretty frequently. I wasn't directly interacting with you all, but I got an email that you sent one of the Fit Insider newsletters, and you mentioned something post Liver King's exposure as being a PED user. Like, what a shocker! But I wrote back and I just asked a few questions, kind of checking the math because I saw some things that I'd seen repeated in other spaces and I hadn't seen verification of it. But will you go on the record and confirm you do believe that Liver King had built a supplement industry that was north of $100 million?
Yeah, and it goes back to what I said in our email. Like I have over to my right is kind of like our table of stuff that people send us. Just looking at some of these brands, I know that one's doing $35 million a year because I've seen their pitch deck. I know this one's
Right,
doing 50, and I think about him, his brand, and it's not the Liver King supplements. He had his own one that was Liver King. He had another one, but this like ancestral supplement brand has been around,
right,
and it was on Rogan, and they were selling. And if you look at their you can look up through different plugins like sales on Amazon, the volume for website searches, other stuff. Yes, his total of all of the things that he was doing, I could assume that, but that's revenue though. That's not profit, obviously. But
right,
they were
right,
most likely doing $100 million a year, or in that range. It wasn't ridiculous to think that that was the number. And if you look at the email that he sent, it was like, I want to be this person so that I can drive sales. It's essentially like, I want to be this person so
right.
I can build this brand and sell shit. Well, I mean, people fell for it. It's terrible, but they fell for it.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, it's a story as old as humans, probably. To move in a slightly different direction, when you look at the landscape of all the different types of companies that you described, from psychedelic medicine, mental health, recovery, fitness, whatever the case may be, broadly, how do you think of segmentation of customers in this marketplace? Like, who are the customers and how do they differ?
You mean in terms of like the customers for those specific businesses
Yeah,
or our customers? Okay. Um, there's a ton. The market itself is so broad, and that's why technically we obviously cover a niche market, but in reality, the market of health, wellness, fitness, nutrition, active lifestyle, even like somewhat into beauty, it's everything. We wrote about this probably 6 months ago. The newsletter was
right,
called "Everything is Wellness."
right,
Everything is wellness, everything is health, everything is fitness. So it's almost every consumer. They're obviously broken down, but like my mom, my fiance, my friends, my cousins, like every type of demographic in person is in some way interacting with fitness, wellness, or health. And that's why I think it's also important for us to kind of keep working within the industry because I think a lot of the industry is kind of bullshit like the Liver King. So that's where a lot of these consumers are getting tricked by nonsense or taking supplements and things that aren't worth it. So it's every consumer now. Even my 70-year-old aunt is looking and saying that there's going to be she's looking at supplements that she saw on some like TV show, and I'm like, please don't buy those. Like this is insane. But she's a target customer now.
right. Yeah. And If you had to stack rank the different types of consumers within this space, who do you feel are the customers who can drive the highest ROI for a company? Or
Um,
could it even be characterized that way?
yes, definitely. It's I forget what the kind of acronym means, but it's like the high earner, the Henry, like the high earner. I forget specifically what it is. Can't think of it right now, but it's the like, millennial, young professional, early, or sorry, like that touches on to like the older Gen Z population. That's who's driving a lot of trends and spend and information, especially when you think about fitness, think about wellness, when you think about that stuff. It's, I'd say 45 to 25 right now is the market of driving that area.
Okay. And I know that in recent months, you've talked about the implosion of connected fitness hardware specifically. And I've also heard you share your thoughts about Peloton and some of their strengths as a brand and mistakes that they've made. And, at this moment in time, a lot of people are looking backwards and saying, like, hey, what was happening with the Tonals, the Pelotons of the world? This implosion was inevitable. What assumptions do you see people making today as we look forward that are likely wrong?
I don't think in any other case, if you look at Peloton as an example, there wasn't an implosion. There was an implosion of stock price and poor business decisions, which fueled the implosion. But like their business was doing well, their numbers were massive, they were growing, they were doing it. And it was the investors, the market, the interest, the consumer investors, the everything driving them down this direction. And then the founder drank his own Kool-Aid and got carried away and kind of went crazy and did all these things. And then, the new acquisition of insider trading and all that, or not, yeah, insider trading and all that stuff. But same thing with Tonal. Tonal created a product and they went to market and they were selling and it was a cool product. It was the
Absolutely.
investors that kept fighting to invest at a higher valuation, give them more money, spend more money, grow your team, expand your product. And then the founders buying into that. That was the problem with this. I still think connected fitness is amazing. I work out at home and I go to the gym. I think a lot of people will do that. I think as consumers go and they build houses and they expand into different areas and they do different things, they don't go to the gym up the street anymore. They go work out at home all the time, or they're healthy in their own way. I don't really care how people work out, and I think they will always do both. There's a group that will go to Planet Fitness. There's a group that will go to Equinox. There's a group that will buy Peloton. There's a group that will buy an arena or a tonal, whatever it is. I think it's always just weird market in media and industry, like gyms versus at home. Gyms are dead. At home is the best. Zoom, everyone's going to work out at Zoom. I could have told you from day one. I said no one's going to do this post COVID. Like some will, but having my trainer watch me at home on Zoom is completely pointless, anyways. It's like it's just all of this hype and market and just what happens in every industry. Look at, I mean, what is it? Thinking of this because I'm going to the movies tonight, but like the movie company that had their stock price go crazy and come back down and everything else, like it's all kind of hype and nonsense, and uh, that was just people letting that happen to the market, unfortunately. But no, I think it's still a huge potential at at home fitness and the market in general, and the interest of people being healthy. Omni-channel, we just wrote about it 2 weeks ago, like all of that stuff.
Where do you see serious unmet needs or where people are not building? And again, I can link to another podcast where you're talking about mega trends that you see coming. But just if today, point blank, you had to make some kind of decision about, hey, this specific area, I perceive there to be a high degree of unmet needs and people aren't building in this space. Is there anything that exists like that right now?
Um, Not that people aren't building, but maybe they're not building the right things. And just the areas that we're interested in generally. One is some version of personalized nutrition. Every trend that sweeps the country or the world comes in phases and it happens everywhere. It's kind of insane how it happens. Think about the Atkins diet or keto or intermittent fasting. I could say those words to most people and they're like, oh, I've heard about that. And it's just this kind of crazy wave. But one one version of nutrition and access to food and other things doesn't match the other person's. So finding a way to help people personalize their nutrition based off of their body is something that I think is a massive opportunity. Another one is kind of, I think it was 3, 4 weeks ago, longevity. What does that mean? There's so much money being spent on people living longer and being healthier as they age. I think a lot of the stuff out there that are the supplements and other things are kind of nonsense and okay. But like, what does that mean? And then the last one that we really are excited about is this active lifestyle piece. And the hard thing about it is, how do you monetize somebody running outside besides shoes or hike, bike, run, climb, gravel cycle, play pickup sports, pickleball? Like active lifestyle is one of my favorite areas because I'm super passionate about it. And I think it's a way, it's almost like, uh, what does Joe say? Everything is everything. Like it's a cycle. It's, back when I think my mom would go to the YMCA's and other stuff, they was jog and run and play racquetball and walk outside and be active and move your body. And it's like, how do we bring that back? Because I think I said it on the last podcast, but 2010 to 2020 was fitness, studio fitness, Y7 berries, kind of moved into Peloton, which is still essentially studio fitness cycling. And then I think 2020 to 2030 is active lifestyle. You bring your community and your social into your fitness through activity. Like I see people a lot because we'll go meet up and walk, or we'll go get coffee and walk around, or we'll go play pickleball if it's nice out, or we'll go play soccer, or we'll go play basketball, or like even golfing. Like being out, moving, doing things while your community is there, or working out as a group, or going on a group run. Like I met with a guy I know in Pittsburgh the other day that just Pittsburgh, small city, random city, 150 people twice a week get up in the morning at 6 a.m. and go for a run together. Like that's what it is exciting to me.
And a couple of things that you mentioned really jump out at me, specifically with diet. And I think like there's a link between things such as the passion people have for diet, the passion people had for Peloton. I believe, I don't know what it is now, but at one point in time, Peloton's NPS was north of 95, I think, which is like Tesla level NPS, which is pretty insane. Uh, with diets, I don't know if you've read the Matt Fitzgerald book, Diet Cult, but I think that's one of my favorite books on the topic. And with all of those things, I think part of their power is it gives people a point of they start to build their identity around the activity that they're doing, whether it's dieting. There's someone who does Peloton. We saw the same thing with Soul Cycle. We see it in all kinds of different domains. And with active lifestyle, something that I'm really curious about is when people are involved in something, but it's more about putting on an item of clothing or doing something perhaps lower intensity, do they think of themselves as I am an active lifestyle person versus I'm someone who rides a Peloton? I don't know what people call themselves when they ride a Peloton. Um, but yeah, just like that point of self-identification and membership in a community that it confers upon them seems to be a really critical vector for how these things start to take off.
Oh yeah. And it's kind of crazy. It was it was actually another, I think I put a trend out there, like 15 top trends for this coming year. And one of the things was this continual growth of community. And this sounds crazy to say, but if you look at the organizations that previous generations were a part of, Moose Club, BFW, church, other things, most of the newer generations aren't part of those things. So they are building their fitness around communities and these like wellness third places and wellness activities. It's like with Peloton, I have buddies that they ride together through that thing and they compete and they work out at the same time, or they kind of do it as a group. Or we actually we sponsor a cycling team. A good friend of ours runs it, and they go out and ride, 50 miles together as a group, a couple times a week when it's nice out. It's their community, and that's the driving force, and that's the holy grail of running a fitness product is building the proper community. Like Street FC is one. It is a pickup soccer app. We just had Dennis on the podcast, the former founder of Foursquare. or this company called CrossCourt that does like pickup basketball.
Yeah.
It becomes like, we all work all day. We don't do anything else because we work too much. And then I have to get my workout in. I have to go do this. I want to see my buddies. We're going to do an activity. And that's why I love it, because they don't think that they're active lifestyle being fitness, whatever. They're just doing what they got to do. They're like, I'm working out, I'm hanging out, I'm having fun, I'm doing my thing. That's when fitness becomes part of your lifestyle. And that's where another thing that on the kind of prediction side is, within the economy that we're going into and where everyone keeps saying recession otherwise, I think fitness won't be on the chopping block this time around for those types of things. If I previously like, oh, I'm going to cut my gym membership or I'm going to do these things because it's kind of extravagant money and I need to save. But fitness has now become ingrained in people's life, both their social and their overall well-being. And I think that they're going to keep spending their money on it. And I think it's a big opportunity because it means more than what it was. It used to be looked at as fitness wellness was, I want to look good. And now it's like this broader thing, especially with mental health being in the picture as well.
On the topic of community, something that's been on my mind recently is with what's happened with crypto, with FTX and these other exchanges falling apart, and crypto's reputation generally declining. The core technology is likely to stick around. It's likely to continue to shape our future. A lot of people conflate crypto and Web3, but on the Web3 side, before we had everything happening with FTX, there was a lot of action, not necessarily on the NFT side, which I don't really want to get into, but on the community building side and what brands could do with Web3 to align incentives with their consumers to create amplification and a means to build brand, build community, and to give people a sense of ownership. And we saw a number of things happening in this connected fitness space. There's StepN and a variety of other companies. What do you think is the future of Web3 and its relationship to this space?
It's really hard for me because I believe in the overall aspect of it. Similar to you're saying, some of the technology behind it. But I feel like it just draws the worst type of person. And the worst type of person is building these products. And because of that, it's never going to go anywhere. So I don't know. I have high hopes in theory, but I just think it's going to be super long time before it becomes impactful in the fitness industry in any way, because it's just like I said, the people, not people that I would want to be involved with or spend time on building these products, and they're not building them in a genuine way. It's all like, not saying anything negative against StepN, but like, and those some other ones out there, they're not really moved to earn, and if they are, what does that mean, and how many people put time and money into it and it didn't really pan out, but it was hot at the time. So I don't have high hopes for it. I've seen 1,000 pitch decks about it, and we have done zero investing in it. But at the same time, pieces of it I really love. So one of my favorite companies is called Any Distance. We invested in them. They created, essentially, it started as like a workout sharing app, and then it became track your workouts and track your activities, and then it became earn collectibles and earn, like, I have this thing going where I'm trying to do a workout in every state, and I have these like digital collectibles from each state that I have, like that. It's technically, is it Web3? It's a collectible, it's digital, it's all that. I love it. It's super enjoyable, and it was created out of a genuine approach to getting more people to be active and doing things this way. So I think there's pieces of it that I thoroughly enjoy, or like Strava syncing with shareable routes for Snapchat, stuff like that. Awesome. But outside of that, the whole move to earn other stuff, I only see it ever working if it connects directly to healthcare, but it doesn't have to be Web3 for that to happen. It doesn't have to be something, and it kind of already exists for activity, because you you're not going to get paid to walk, but you could get reimbursements or discounts, or technically be paid to walk based off of your healthcare cost, expenditure, all that stuff. So
I'm not going to remember the name of the company. Is it Health IQ? There's a company that'll provides incentives if you share your Strava activities or your Apple Watch or whatever for life insurance. If that's not Health IQ, sorry, Health IQ.
something like that. But
Yeah.
exactly, yeah, that's what I
Right.
mean. Like, it has to be
Yeah.
connected to some bigger thing. It's not just because I buy a digital sneaker and I go on a walk. Like there has to
Right.
be more there. So I think eventually it will be there, but I wouldn't even call those Web3 because even if they are using some version of Web3 technology, it's it's not going to be this like the whole wave of like NFTs and other stuff. Like it's just craziness that's what how it went down, and a lot of people thought that that was going to be the thing.
Yeah, as I watch that whole space evolve, and like you, I have a number of things come across my desk from different people building in this space, and my observation has been the experiences are all extremely high friction. I don't know if you've gone and played around with any of these things, but just to get signed up and to make the things work, it's very high friction. It's very cumbersome. I consider myself to be a pretty technically savvy person, and often I just can't figure it out. So that's not a very good sign at the outset, I don't think. And then maybe the idea of earning make believe things is, well, I guess there's a lot of social proof that those types of incentives do work within, different video game ecosystems, and that's kind of the whole idea of the metaverse. But it's still really hard for me to fathom that that actually is going to be motivating to people at scale in a way that really works. But also, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's where like with us in the bet on any distance was there's a number of factors, but one of them being, you know, I can earn things like I did so much activity, I earned a shirt, and now they're partnering with brands where if I do found out it's almost like Pokemon Go, where if I'm out in the world and I see this thing or I find this thing, I can get a discount or I can get a free Lululemon thing or whatever it may be. Again, I think it has to be more than just this move to earn or this NFT or whatever it's going to be. But I think there's something there and it will come around. And yeah, like I think video game, the reason we went with any distance was because the video game concept of like earning things and moving, but it's not for money as much as it is. It's your activity. It's what you do. It's even as far as, people doing things like how much of a thing is Spotify wrapped? Well, and so like any distance is doing a fitness wrap where it's like your what were your activities for the year? Did you hike, bike, run? Where did you do this? Where did you do that? That's cool, that's fun, but it's like you earned it, you did it. I don't know, there's something there, but that's as far as we've gotten so far.
Right. And as you think about where you've gotten to with this concept of what you're doing on the investing side, and how many companies are you invested in today?
25.
25. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you want to take this?
Yeah, we want to be the largest health wellness and fitness investor across the board. A lot of funds are sports and fitness and media and fitness or whatever in health. And then there's some digital health ones and healthcare ones and others. But with what we've built and what we have, not only do we want to be the largest fund, but we want to be the largest platform. If you want to get hired, we'll have the jobs board. If you want to research, we'll have a data thing that you can access. If you want to understand something, we'll have master classes and office hours, and we'll have in-person events. We'll have everything that I would have wanted as a founder in fitness wellness, everything that a founder needs, and then what the community needs, we'll create and build. And that's both with Fit Insider and now Well to Do over in Europe and the UK, expanding that out. And then I think more importantly, on the investing side, we will be able to invest in and evaluate companies at the very earliest of stages. When that founder who leaves Strava and was head of whatever thing says, I want to build the next company, the goal is that they come to us first and we help them co-create that company. Or when somebody is working on a thing and they're a series, even a pre-seed seed stage company and they need their first bet or their first check in that round of 250 or 500K, I want to them and work with them and then support them from the day they work on something until the day they sell to the company that they're going to sell to or go public or whatever it is. And I think we have a massive opportunity here to do that and do it in a super fun, very inclusive and just cool way because we're just not thinking like the traditional people are because it's just not who we are.
And just, I'm not sure I totally understand the mechanics of how you all are set up. Are you nested inside of another venture firm or inside of another fund, or how does it work?
No, we partnered with some other firms and funds.
Okay.
So like I am an advisor. Joe and I are advisors to Courtside, and
Okay.
we're advisors to them. And then we have some capital backed by a group called Elysian Park Ventures, which is a group that's connected to the LA Dodgers. So, and then as we go out to raise more money and launch multiple funds, there's different teams and companies and individuals and sports that are backers, but we operate, you know, as our own entity. Joe and I running it with our team.
And how do you and Joe divide what you do today?
Yeah, it's a fun thing. Left side, Joe, he's the COO organization, makes everything run and operate and be on time and does it in a phenomenal way. And he's also essentially like head of content. He's making sure that all becomes the thing. And on the other side, I operate, and he is the most organized and put together person. On the other side, I'm pure chaos. My thing is driving forward both the companies we invest in, talking to people. I'm probably in 30, 40 hours of calls a week, but it's not like bullshit meetings. It's talking with founders and investors and people and working on projects and building that. So doing that and then fundraising and then managing that side of the business with both money in, money out, and the investing side. And then together, we just kind of come together and we have a phenomenal team. It's super small right now, but I think it's like 5 or 6. But working on building the team and together, kind of hopefully expanding the things that we can do in the space so it doesn't really rely on him and I as much because there are crazy talented people in this space. And that's what we get excited about too is like there's a lot of opportunity if we can get writers and podcasters and content creators and investors around our table. We want to build the foundation and then just surround ourselves with the best possible people.
And you and Joe obviously have a very long relationship. It spanned the entirety of your life. And it sounds like you have a very deep understanding of the complementarity of your skill sets, where you're expert, where he's expert, what you're good at, maybe where you shouldn't spend time. Also, when you're an entrepreneur and you're scaling things, you often have to pick up other things or you might get distracted by the noise of opportunity. How do you stay focused on the areas where you are excellent and not get dragged into stuff that's going to be a waste of your time or you don't add value?
Yeah, it's been one of the biggest fights of my entire kind of life, honestly, is there's a lot of things I'm not good at. I want to be good at those things, but I just can't. It's the way my brain works the way it is. And I always thought I could, so I have always become a blocker. I think we would have been 1,000 times more successful in certain points of our career if I wouldn't have done things. Because Joe has the capabilities and the skill set, but I would try to do things that didn't fit within that. So now it's a constant fight and a reminder and support. Like, now we brought on like an admin slash chief of staff to help me with stuff to do things I can't do. Like the email back to you, I didn't send that, they did. And that's awesome because like for me to sit down and go through my inbox of 500 emails on Tuesday, it's going to take me 18 hours because I'm just terrible at it. So being in a position both for I can have Joe and team there to tell me like, hey man, you're not good at that. Stop doing it. Or like change this thing that you're doing so it works a different way. And then being kind of fortunate to be in a position where we can hire those people and build those teams. So I do not do things that I'm not good at. And I have I feel as though I'm over that hump. But I mean it took me 10 years from the beginning of my career. I'm 32 now. 33, one of those. 33 now. And I started when I was 20, 21, doing things. It took me 13 years to figure out not to mess up and try to do things I can or like not play to my strengths. So, it took a while.
Love it. It's a good sign that you're busy enough when you can't remember what age you are. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, Anthony, thanks so much for joining me today. Thanks for everything that you shared. Love what you all are doing. I look forward to getting the newsletter, listening to the podcast. And if people want to check you out, learn more, where should they go?
Yeah, really appreciate having me. Awesome to talk. Joe's the podcast guy, and I have been on podcasts over the years, but it's only, I'm never one to talk. So it's fun to be able to do it. Fit Insider. If you just Google Fit Insider, there's the podcast, newsletter, jobs board. My email is the email that's there once you subscribe. If you're working on something in the space, you want to build something, you have ideas, or you're just generally passionate about it, hit us up.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much.
This is Andrew Vance. Thank you for listening. to choose the hard way. If you enjoyed this episode, there has never been a better time to share it with a friend who has a growth mindset. Wherever you listen, please subscribe, hit 5 stars, and leave a positive review so more people can find the inspiring stories of my guests. Sign up for the newsletter at choosethehardway.com to get the story behind these stories, episode updates, and more. Choose the Hard Way is a big truck production. It is produced and edited by Anthony Palmer at Palm Tree Podco. Thank you to Emily Miles for digital support and marketing. The content for this show is created by me, Andrew Vance.